Hey, we are not fine fans and listeners and viewers. Welcome back to another episode.
We're back.
As usual, I want to get excited about the topic today. And everyone, relationship or not, can somewhat relate to this. This is about whether or not people sleep in the same beds when they're married or coupled or partnered or dating or exploring a relationship, and whether or not that's a problem if you don't.
This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and guests. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. This podcast also does not establish a standard of care, doctor-patient, or client relationship. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. And because each person is so unique, all listeners are encouraged to connect with counseling and medical professionals for assistance with their personal journey. All people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect the privacy of those involved.
Welcome to We're Not Fine. I'm Dr. Talia Jackson.
And I'm Doug Jensen. We thank you for listening every week to our deep and thought-provoking conversations about relationships.
I love this topic so much.
I do too. And you know what's interesting about it is I found myself as I was thinking about it, because I am currently single, and yet,
yes,
without going into too much detail, occasionally have bed partners. And
like
it is
bed bugs?
Yes, no. Well, if you want to call my dates that. But here's the thing about that, guys. It's a really interesting thing. I'm not any longer. I have this big, huge king size bed that the two extra long twins, I guess they're called. You know, I have a movable bed and both sides can do it differently. So one person can be elevated.
Like a sleep number?
No, it's it's mechanical.
I know what you're talking about.
So I can elevate I do my notes.
Oh, wow.
At the end of my day on my bed. And I
like
get to
a hospital bed, except
it's like
sexier.
a hospital bed. I don't even know how to say it. It's an adjustable bed.
Yes, I mean, I know what you're talking. I'm embarrassed that neither one of us know what that's called.
And what's crazy is there's also a vibration. There's a massage button on.
So and
both parties get to make their own decisions about their feet being elevated, their top being elevated, whether they have massage on or not. I think the whole bed probably shakes if the other person has it on.
Yes.
But the thing about it is
hilarious.
I am not entirely used to sleeping with someone anymore.
Yeah.
So when I have somebody, I'm like, move to your side. Like
right?
I get a little hot. I don't want to be spooned or spooning. I don't want to do it all night.
Right. And that's like the fantasy. The fairy tale is that we fall asleep every night, our like toes touching and spooning and looking into each other's eyes.
So what's your experience?
Well, I mean, and I'm thinking also about the very unsexy topic of insomnia and snoring. Right. And so it's like, if any of you follow me on my own Instagram, you'll see that I've become like obsessed with menopause and menopause humor, because it's like, it is just impacting all of us ladies at a certain age, and we have to act normal. But meanwhile, we're an absolute fucking disaster. So there have been many times over the last couple of years that I have thought about, should I sleep in another bed? Because even if Rob is like barely snoring, if I'm up, I hear everything, and I'm such a light sleeper. And when I'm not sleeping, I'm super anxious and wretched. But I am sleeping like a dream.
So I'm also reminded, I'm going to disclose that I use a CPAP. I have
not like, basically sleep is not that sexy.
It's not that sexy. And I remember I was with somebody who said, I really like that you snore. I'm really attracted to it. I'm like, I'm going to die if I keep snoring. Like, it's a life and death situation. And so
is it really that serious though?
Yeah, it is. It is very serious.
If you if you not snoring, but if you like stop breathing.
Correct. It is. Sleep apnea is a life-threatening issue. It is indeed.
I felt like during some real dark times, during some perimenopausal insomnia, that snoring was also life-threatening for my husband, because I wanted to suffocate him with my pillow.
I haven't seen Rob in several months. Honestly, 1 in 4 marriage couples sleep in different beds. That's a pretty high percentage.
It is.
And probably more would if they weren't worried that it was going to impact their relationship. And we're here to say it doesn't necessarily speak anything bad about your relationship if you sleep in separate beds. Getting a good night's sleep, as we well know, for our brain activity and brain functioning and overall functioning. Like, if I don't sleep well, holy crap.
I'm a mess, and I will hate you anyway, even if we snuggled all night. So we might as well get a good night's sleep.
Is that personal to me? Did you say that to me personally?
We need to stop sleeping in the same bed.
Slop sleeping?
Because you're sloppy.
That's a whole nother category of sleep.
But the idea is a lot of people, there are highs and lows. There are pros and cons. And so basically we're going to give you some Reddit comments. Like, the question was put out there. Hey, couples that sleep in separate bedrooms, like, how's that working for you? And we just loved some of these responses. So mixed reviews, but then we came up with like, okay, if you're going to do this, if you're choosing sleep, my God, do I get it?
You need to choose sleep, by the way. This is not an issue you should be playing around with.
It can negatively impact your relationship. So we're going to give you some tips at the end.
Which I just want to say, it's about communication too. Like, if you, in a healthy, owning sort of way, adaptive sort of way, you let your person know that sleep is important. I'm not getting it enough. You know, I have a couple friends who, like, we have typically a big New Year's Eve celebration at my house and people are sleeping all over. And I remember being upstairs in my bedroom and hearing someone downstairs. I'm like, what the hell is that noise? And it was one of my dearest friends who unfortunately was like around a group of young kids. And they were probably all just like, we're not going to sleep because of him. I'm like, how do I get him to a different room?
Wait, he was snoring?
Oh my God, so loud.
Like a chainsaw?
Like, really, like, if you tried snoring that loud
you
to
couldn't
be funny,
even try.
I don't think I could do it.
Or like you would strain your vocal. No, you would like hurt your throat.
Yeah, it would be like, oof, so
That's
loud.
Unfortunate.
And so I just close my door and go to bed and hope everyone finds it.
You were like,
spot.
too bad for you.
I kind of did. And then I told him the next day, I said, you need a CPAP. You need a sleep.
Like, you've got issues and I've made an appointment for you. Okay, so this first Reddit comment, the question is, yo, Mary peeps who sleep in separate bedrooms, how's it working out for you? And the first comment is basically, if this is all you get from it, it really summarizes all of the comments, but it's real plain and simple. The sleep is amazing, but my marriage is shit.
I do like that one.
I would want to know, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, was your marriage shit and now you're sleeping separately? Or is your marriage shit because you're sleeping separately? But some of the following comments might speak to this a little bit better.
It might. Next comment. I 100% recommend it. My wife and I started sleeping in separate rooms probably 7 years ago. It doesn't identify how long they've been together. At first, we felt guilty about it, as if there was something wrong with our marriage. But the fact is, we are both light sleepers, and my wife likes to zone out on her phone in bed. Another thing when people are using screens, right? Like, it keeps the other person up. And we all have different ways of going to bed. I have a big TV in my room. I'm going to keep using it. I love it. I binge on shows, some really good ones.
Do you fall asleep with the TV on?
Yes. And then I shut it off because my flicker's right on the side where someone else might be in my king size bed.
Your bed bug.
My bed
friend.
bug. Anyway.
But you know what? I don't know. Maybe the bottom line is, if it's not a problem, it's not a problem.
Well, let me
like, if it's
continue on
working
this
for
one.
you.
I know. I agree with that.
Keep going.
Like, so my wife likes to zone out on her phone in bed, which kept me awake, and I would start to get anxious about getting enough sleep. I tossed and turned a lot, which that anxiety can just build and build and build, by the way. Anybody who has insomnia, you start worrying about worrying. So I tossed and turned a lot and would keep waking her up. And if I got up to pee at night, she would wake up and have a hard time going to sleep again. We even invested in a king size bed. Good plan, which only yielded a marginal improvement in our sleep quality. Then someone gave us a queen size bed, which put us in our guest room. And I started sleeping there. And instantly our quality of sleep and quality of life improved.
Oh, God.
It took a long time until we told people about it because we didn't want to be judged. But now we have made peace with it, which I want to say, you don't have to tell everyone about your personal situation like I just did or you just did. But that's, what we do as podcasters in some ways is role model honesty and vulnerability.
I think what makes us different than your other therapist podcasters is we're real people and we're not speaking from a high horse.
like we do everything right, because that's not true. But I want to say, like, you don't have to tell everybody all your secrets, but you also should not have any shame or embarrassment about it. Like, we all have to do what's best for us, and not one size fits all in any relationship. I also think that this guilt that you had at the beginning, I want to comment on that. Like, if you can communicate and say, I'm feeling a little guilty about this. I'm worried that there's something wrong with our relationship. Yeah. Ask your partner, like, where are we at with this? What do you think about it? 9 times out of 10, you both are on the same page. And if you're solid in your marriage and your relationship, it's not going to be an issue.
Well, and I also I think about maybe some snap judgments I've had in the past when I've heard like, oh, they haven't slept in the same room for years.
Which is different than not having had sex for years or physical intimacy.
But don't you jump to the same conclusion?
No.
A little bit? But no. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that's a snap judgment that I'm going, now that we're like talking about this, I need to pay attention, because there are a few negative connotations that maybe feel like, oh, well, then you might not be having sex, or you might not be as close, or you might not be as affectionate, or you've chosen sleep over.
It might even make sex better because you have more than one place to explore.
Next one. Speaking personally, 98% of the time my wife and I do the deed, 98% of the time that we do the deed, it follows from the cuddling we do while falling asleep or waking up. Well, there's something. If we didn't sleep together, I'm sure we'd still find a way, but off the top of my head, I don't really know how that would work. I mean, that's fair.
It's fair, but also
not my experience.
Really, really small in your scope. Like, as I've said many times, I wish for people to have a really huge, open, honest conversation about kinks and cottages. And all sexual positions and anything that people want to explore, role plays, etc., costumes, whatever. And so the thing about it is, I would find myself really wondering, like, why is it just one way that you're doing this? And everyone is different, and not everybody needs to be risk-taking or exploratory. But I might encourage this person in particular to explore a little bit, like, is your relationship physically what it might be if you opened up dialogue? Like, are you satisfied? How else can we do this? Because there's always a way to have sex without cuddling. And you can cuddle anywhere and have it lead somewhere.
You can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, if you are someone that only really is horny during business hours, like banking hours.
There's morning and afternoon and night times people. There are.
And I also
wonder, previous partner of mine were on different schedules.
That's real. That would be another episode. That's how basically we come up with all of our episodes, is a tangent from another episode.
We're not married, but we moved in together last September, and we always sleep separately unless we have guests to stay.
Interesting.
We both like our own space and like to stretch out. He snores a bit. Snoring is a big issue.
Yeah, snoring and insomnia,
and
like actual medical situations.
Correct. I get up earlier for work than him, so I don't want to wake him up. Right now, I'm awake and he's still snoozing. We have a great relationship. We have regular sex, and we don't sleep in the same room.
There you go.
When you're asleep, you're unconscious anyway, so I don't see why you need to do that with somebody else. I love this guy.
I actually feel like that one, I get it.
I think this person is entirely...
And they feel great about it.
They feel great about it. We have a great relationship. We have great sex. We don't have to sleep together to have those things happen.
They seem healthy.
Nice work.
It's working.
Yep.
For that.
I'd love you to be a guest on the show.
Okay, let's see. We lived together almost 10 years now, and we've taken to sleeping in separate rooms for the past year or two. It's great for the most part. I'm a really light sleeper, so him even turning over wakes me up. I'm so much less tired now. I don't understand why people are so loath to do this. How much are you actually hanging out with your significant other in the middle of the night anyway? But it's not, okay. Yes, except it's not about hanging out in the middle of the night. It's like the bookends of the night, where maybe there is some unwinding together, or maybe your toes are touching, or maybe you're just checking in.
And one of you has cold feet and the other one does not. And so they scream when you do that.
Maybe maybe he's dreaming of sleeping in a different room, because I always put one, especially in the winter, one cold paw on him
I think Rob is very generous with his space. So I don't sense it's an issue. Next person writes, separate rooms save relationships, people, with 3 exclamation points. Plus you each get your own room to have your own space and decorate how you want. Well, that's kind of cool. Like, I think we get into, I've been really, really on this tangent recently about like socialized belief systems about our gender and about our sexuality, and we have to label ourselves and we have to do things a certain way. And I want to throw all of that out. You know, at this point in my life where I've come to a place.
Not this again.
I've come to a place where I just don't like that socialized belief system about how we have to do things. So thank you for writing in this. Very, very clear. What's the point? Like, create your own space, create your own, like, bedrooms are kind of a big deal. Like, I celebrated one of my birthdays in Key West with a group of my friends, and the bed that I had in Key West, I was just enamored with. I just loved it so much. So I found it online. I bought it, got it delivered from North Carolina, I believe it was, or maybe South Carolina, wherever the furniture capital is. And I love it.
The furniture capital?
Like, there's a bunch of furniture made in one of the Carolinas.
Are you making this up?
Nope, I'm not.
I don't think this is a commonly known fact.
It is, but I had it delivered, and let me just tell you, I love it so much. But I kind of created this almost like I have a little bit of an ocean feel. Not really.
No, you do. You've got like a real beachy vibe.
Bitchy or beachy?
I'm not going to repeat that. Okay. My husband and I have mostly slept apart for a year or so because he's a huge snorer. Okay, this is a theme.
Is an issue, man.
We're both so much more rested and happier. Sex life is still good, etc. But I often just miss sitting in bed together reading or watching Bob's Burgers. That's cute. I get it. I feel you.
Here's the thing. I would say, first of all, Bob's Burgers, like my older kid loves that show. So I can imagine that this might be something about her and her relationship. But I think truly, I think there's a part of this that I think you can do that and then go to your separate spaces.
That's what I was thinking.
Say, like, just be generous with yourself too. Like, if you find yourself falling asleep during Bob's Burgers and you want to just stay in bed, like, you can mix it up too. There's no rule like every night you need to go to your own room. It just doesn't work that way.
And then who gets the real room and who gets the fake room?
Who gets the one with burgers? Because that's where I would go.
God, I'm so hungry.
Yeah. This person says, exactly. Better sleep is important for our health, our jobs, our happiness. Within 6 months of sleeping separately, we have both received promotions.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Doesn't that just speak to functioning, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, I can still relate to that. I mean, I'm just an absolute disaster when I'm not sleeping. And I can't believe how long I was a disaster.
You know what's interesting? I'm thinking about this little thing that we did last year where we had to be in front of a camera, Talia and I did. And we did not sleep the night before. And I remember we sat down in the hotel lobby. And I remember looking at you and you're like, I didn't sleep.
A wink. And how were the bags under my eyes?
You have this look on your face. I'm like, how do we get you going?
Oh my God.
But you know what's interesting? We pull it up. We pull it together.
Well, yeah, because I function, but it's like a show. And it's so different than when I actually feel really good. Like now.
For sure.
It's called estrogen patches, peeps. Look into it. That's what you need.
I'm not using it. Just FYI.
Fine, your loss. We sleep together on the weekends. Oh, this is what you were saying. Just, mix it up. But I've been sleeping in the guest room most weekdays because she gets up at 4:30 and I normally turn in after midnight. She always wakes me up, slams a door. Her alarm goes off when she's in the shower. God, she sounds like me. She sounds like she has ADHD. Just a little shot. Wait, what? Brush it, or she'll leave the door open when she brushes her teeth. Just little shots like that have been waking me up and I can't fall back asleep for like another 30 to 45 minutes until she's gone and it's silent and dark again. She's not always noisy, but sometimes I'd just rather not be woken up. So I sleep downstairs. Yeah.
Seems like you're resilient.
Good
you're
job,
listening
guys.
to yourself and you're approaching it in a healthy way. Next person says, and this is kind of fun.
This is our last.
I love it. I get to spread out and get a full night's sleep.
Yeah.
She doesn't in bold.
Oh.
She always asks me if I'm going to sleep with her because she wants to wake up next to me. I told her about these little things and how they wake me up and it's exhausting to not get solid sleep, but she still asks me to. It's not an issue on the weekends or days when I also get to sleep early and get up early. But when I want to sleep in and need it, I need to make that choice for myself. I'm hoping it doesn't hurt us long term or anything.
Oh, that's painful.
Well, you know what's interesting about this? I have someone in my life that I know who absolutely does not sleep well unless there's someone sleeping next to him.
Oh.
And it's really an interesting thing. And I do believe that just developmentally too, there can be some pieces about like how your childhood was. Did you feel comforted? Did you have security growing up? Were you able to detach from, you know, how we want to sleep with our parents when we're scared, when there are storms or bad dreams when we're young? Eventually, most of us kind of grow out of that phase and we're really comfortable being on our own and we know that we're safe. I have a very, very lovely image of me getting tucked in by my grandmother when I stayed with her and my grandfather on their farm in Northwood, Iowa.
Yeah,
and it was a very, very comforting. And I could hear my grandma in the morning making coffee and baking. It was just a beautiful memory in retrospect. My grandma is my person. But I'll tell you, I think, you know, if you don't have that security, I have found myself thinking, I think some people in a very sort of young way really need cuddling. They need cradling. They need to be held. They need to be those things that maybe were missing in their childhood. I'm not suggesting that's the case for for the person in your life that wrote this, but I kind of wonder about it. And it is absolutely appropriate for you to negotiate that and find a compromise that works. And that comes back to great communication. If she needs it and you don't, communicate your needs and make sure that you take care of yourself. Because if you keep accommodating her need to be in the same bed with you all the time, you're going to grow resentful. So long term, there could be an issue. Find a compromise.
It's like a perfect segue into just like wrapping up. If you want to sleep in separate bedrooms, then these are the ways you can make it work, right? The first one is make sure you're communicating about it. And I might say
Always.
It doesn't always have to be an unmet need. Like some people, that's their love language is affection and cuddling and
physical touch.
Touch. And also like maybe that's what you had envisioned for a romantic partnership and a marriage. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But just the idea that like you might want to pay attention if it feels like I'm not able to fall asleep until my partner is right alongside me. Because I also feel bad for the people that like if they're not even just sleeping together, but like I can't fall asleep unless you're falling asleep in bed next to me. That can feel a little oppressive to people, I imagine.
I agree.
Yeah, talk about the love language. If affection is your love language, physical touch. Also, if you're going to try sleeping in separate bedrooms, create more touch points throughout your day where the two of you can have that connection and physical touch and flirting and romance and sex and all that good stuff.
Like anything else in a relationship, this is about communicating your experience, your thoughts, your feelings, your wants, your needs, and making sure that the other person has the space to do the same thing safely and finding that space where you two can connect and find that compromise and commit to it and make it work. So,
and it might take a little extra effort if you're not sleeping in the same bedroom, but that's okay.
Good luck to all of you as you navigate your sleeping experience.
We love y'all. Find us on social media, Dr. Talia Jackson and Douglas L. Jensen with an EN. We're Not Fine Pod. This is all Instagram. And YouTube, We're Not Fine. That's where you need to check out. Doug and I are like always trying to color coordinate. We chose ugly winter sweaters today.
No, it was very funny. I put this on and I'm like, is this an ugly Christmas sweater?
It's
but
cute. I love it.
I kind of like it and I feel like I'm going to go skiing or snowboarding after
I know. That's what you look like, a Norwegian skier.
Thank you.
Did I mention TikTok? We're on TikTok.
You didn't mention it, but I'm delighted that TikTok is something we have now and I wouldn't know how to post. So thank you to our people that are on our amazing team that make this all work. Also go to we'renotfine.com if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have questions you'd like us to answer, if you have any responses to your own sleeping situation that you have, please let us know. We're glad to bring that back up and talk about that on future episodes. You are welcome to contact us at any time.
Bye, guys. See you next time.
Take care.